than that, I wanted to show you some examples of that. So here's my file that I've created. And actually, this would be like a delivered product, like your question. Here's my file, cell biology with a little quiz. We're always quizzing our students, aren't we? So I was like, I'll throw in a quiz. Why not? So if I double click on that file, it's going to load my read out loud. It's going to load the book that I picked, and it's going to load the right-hand side for me. Now this is something that I made, and so on the right-hand side, I gave the student some prompts.
Define the vocabulary below. Cell.
All right. So I wanted the student to define this vocabulary. So as this student would go through here, here's the definition for cell. So I could simply click on that, and I could show my work. I could hand this in, basically, right? So I made this right-hand side and would give this to a student. It took me about 2 seconds to make, and I'll show you guys an example of how to do that. Okay? I also put some web resources. I'm oftentimes frightened by students going out on the web and finding information. Are you guys frightened by that? Sometimes it gets a little scary. And so what I wanted to do in this sample is, okay, define these things. And by the way, I also want you to read these things online. And I made this web resources. So if I double click on Robert Hooke, it's going to take me online to a website that I chose.
Go.
It loads it. And then I could read that website. Okay? And hopefully that'll load.
Well, everyone's on wireless because the hard line's down. So it could be a little slow.
It's just a little slow. Yep, it's just a little slow. You know, these days it's so funny. I'm so impatient. Remember back in the day where like a picture would be loading on your web browser? You'd like brew a cup of coffee and come back and it was finally loaded? And these days I wait 2 seconds. I'm like, it must be down. It's not working, right? It's terrible. And so here's my Robert Hooke, and I can click play.
Robert Hooke, FRS, 18th of July, 1635.
Okay, and I could have that all read. I could take some notes on here. I also have, you know, another one on RNA, you know, another sample on DNA. So it's basically just pinging these websites that I wanted to get to. I'll show you how I did that. Want me to show you really quick? It actually takes you 2 seconds to do. That's the nice thing about Read Out Loud. If I go to, say I go to Google.
Good.
Okay. And let's say I looked for something. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Like let's say I went to the Blackhawks page, and I wanted my students to read this on cell biology and relate that to the Chicago Blackhawks. I know we're web streaming, so I apologize to everyone in Vancouver. I probably shouldn't have even brought this up, but I am. So on this web page, if I highlight anything on this web page, so I'll highlight that, and notice how it brought it over, put it on the right-hand side. It actually automatically bookmarked this web page for me. So if I wanted to write over the top of this, all I need to do is click on it, and I could write, how do the Blackhawks relate to cells? Question mark. All right? And I'm done. Simple? Okay, and I would just save this. Save my file, and it's already bookmarked for me. So then under web resources, if I double click on that, if the student double clicked on that, it would take them to the exact website that I got it from, and they could fill in how Blackhawks relate to cells. Okay? Question? Is that simple? You guys all do that? All right, so it literally took me 2 seconds to create this right-hand side. The final thing that I wanted to show you is, so I've shown you lots of, we've done a lot today actually in an hour. Final thing I wanted to show you is what about quizzing and assessment? So I actually put a quiz on here online. And if I double click on take this quiz, okay, it brought me to my website that I created. Okay, and here's my cells and biology quiz. Now because I'm in Read Out Loud, I can have this read.
Who discovered cells? Bob Dylan, Nelson Mandela, Robert Hooke, Captain Hooke.
Try to trick him with that question, right? So I could come in here and say, I thought it was something Hooke, so maybe I'll do Captain Hooke. then I can come in here and,
Cells and by
read what is your favorite part of the cell, why, and, I could type in type in my favorite part of the cell. I could read this question.
check everything that describes prokaryotes, working class cells, bacteria, simple cells, none of the above.
Okay, and I thought there were, I could maybe check those three. Okay.
What's an example of a unicellular organism? Monkey, my brother, amoeba, your mother-in-law.
Okay. It's terrible. Okay, and then I click submit. Okay, it says thanks, your response will now appear in my spreadsheet. Okay, so if I could have sent this link out to all of you, you all could have filled this out for me. And it's pretty easy. So delivering this quiz is nice because it's online. I don't have to go from the computer to computer and give them that quiz. And I actually did this quiz in Google Forms. Are you guys all familiar with Google Forms? So this is a free resource, and it's really nice. Do you want me to show you this? This will be fun. Okay, so I'll show you what Google Forms looks like. So if I go to google.com, and it's actually Docs is what you want. So it's actually a feature of Google Docs. We actually started using this in our office, and everybody really loved it. So I was like, oh, this would be great for Read Out Loud, because I can create a quiz, give it to people, and Read Out Loud can read it out loud for the students. And I tied it in with that assignment. So it was tied in with that assignment, so I read it, and then I responded. And the other nice thing is if the student would have highlighted what I asked them to highlight when they take the quiz, they can simply look on the right-hand side and use that as their cheat sheet, right? Okay? So they can be a lot more successful. So I'll log in to Google Docs. Okay? So here's Google Docs. And if I want to have a look, notice how I didn't title this form, but it says untitled form. If I click on that, it's going to take me into a spreadsheet of my answers. And actually, I did one where I have more answers. There we go. So here's another Google form that I did. It lists the questions up at top, and then down below, it'll list the answers. Okay, so I can kind of get a feel for what was written. Okay, which is nice because now you have cumulative data. Okay. And to do this, you simply click on Create New and go down to Form. Okay. And I really like how they did this because it's really simple. Okay, so sample question. Okay. What is to go in Toronto? Question mark. Okay, so I type what is the best place to go in Toronto. I can type what type of question is this? Is it a paragraph, multiple choice, check boxes, choose from a list, a scale, a grid? So keep it really simple. Maybe I'll do multiple choice. And I simply type in the options. Some of you are from Toronto. Where do you guys like to go? Maybe the Tower? Okay.
Where else?
Where else do you guys like to go?
University of Toronto.
Ah, University of Toronto. Nice one. University of Toronto. The local pub where they sing and dance. I think it was just the Bridges folks that were doing that. But I could be wrong. Okay? And I could basically type in my quiz. Okay? I could do another question by double-clicking on the next one. Okay? Okay? And down below, I could do paragraph text. I could do multiple choice, check boxes, choose from a list. I could do a grid. I could do a scale, etc. Pretty simple. Okay. All right.
How do you get that into Read Out Loud?
Yep. Yeah, it's really simple. So I'll save this. Okay. And all I need to do, I could email this form. Okay. So I could type in my email address and email it to myself. Okay. And because Read Out Loud has a web browser, you simply copy and paste that URL into the web browser, and you're taking the form. So I could email it, or I could, just copy and paste because I'm on my own computer. I could go into Read Out Loud and just paste that URL, and it'll load that quiz for me. Pretty simple. Okay. What I did for this assignment on the right-hand side, where I had take this quiz, okay, I simply highlighted something in this text, like so, and I wrote over top, take this quiz. And so basically that bookmarked it in my assignment for my student. Yeah, pretty simple. I mean, it literally took me, like this morning, I made this in 5 minutes. So it was really easy. Although I don't know much about cell biology, so my questions weren't very good. All right. Other questions? We have about 4 more minutes, so any other questions? Yeah.
The button to the right of the note button, the one's got 3.
Ah, great question. Yeah.
New
So the question is,
subtopic.
what is this button here with the 3 little dots
New
there?
subtopic.
I actually used that to create my web resources. This is just gives me a new subtopic if I click this on the right-hand side, okay? And I could just type over this. And so I just created that subtopic to the right-hand side. It's not linked to anything because I didn't highlight it in the left-hand side. It just gives me a way, like I wrote web resources using that and defined the vocabulary below and all those vocabulary words using that. So you could really use it to create even strategy guides. Some of my favorite stuff is, let me show you another example of where we use that. You can actually go up to Outline and click on Add Outline. And these are pre-made outline templates for the right-hand side. A lot of these are related to reading strategies. Okay, so like some of my favorite ones, there's 6 traits to writing. There's some sequencing ones. There's some note-taking strategies. There's this, SQ3R. I'm sure you guys have all used KWLs, right? What you know, what you want to know, what you've learned. I'll load this SQ3R. So I simply go to Outline, Add Outline, choose one, and here's the right-hand side with, survey the book. What does the title, heading, illustrations, first paragraph, last paragraph say? And then questions, read actively, recite answers, review. Okay, so those are my strategies for the right-hand side. Yeah, another question?
Can you use Dragon with that Read Out Loud to get your text into it?
Yeah, the question is, can you use Dragon with Read Out Loud? You can use Dragon with Read Out Loud. Yeah, so you just have to, the only place that you'd really use Dragon is in the web portion, if there's somewhere where you can write, or in the notes portion. The rest is really highlighting and manipulating information. Yeah, great question. Other questions? No? So if after the presentation, if you want to come up here and have a look at the Intel Reader, the Classmate Reader, Read Out Loud, or anything else, if you have questions, feel free to do so. Sorry for those of you at home who can't, but hopefully you guys can get a feel for this. So I hope you had a good idea of how you can get text in accessible formats, easy ways to do that, use some tools, and actually I hope you like that assessment piece as well. I thought that was a nice way of garnering whether students read the material and learned from the material. All right, so thanks everyone.